The biggest issue with the Surface Pro 12-inch is the price. Other than that, this thing is nearly perfect, especially hardware-wise.
For the longest time, small Windows tablets, such as the Surface Go series, have been incredibly anemic, and if they had faster processors, they constantly sound like a jet engine taking off, while the little fan inside struggles to keep everything cool, all while draining your battery life just from having the thing turned on at all. The 12-inch Surface Pro changes this with its ARM processor, as opposed to an Intel x86 chip.
The funniest part is, this isn't even Microsoft's first ARM-powered Surface device, but it's definitely their best. So, let's see what this little tablet can do.
But first, sponsor time. War Thunder! It's the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made! You get to take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, and helicopters.
But I want ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main tanks of today. Do they got that?
Yes they do. These tanks and vehicles are so realistic, you'll think that they've been lifted straight from the real-world schematics. Hey! Put that down! We do not condone that. Some of you guys take this way too far. But not only are the vehicles realistic, but so are the graphics and sound effects. And even the damage is realistic too, with this super cool X-ray view, showing you exactly where the vehicle was impacted, which components were affected, and what ultimately destroyed the vehicle.
Wow, I feel like I'm right at the helm of one of the most powerful war machines of our time. Did I get that right?
If you're a fan of military history, why not join the worldwide community of over 95 million players in their epic PvP battles today? You can play the game for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile on both iOS and Android.
Okay, waiter. I want to order the massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of a premium account. How much does this one cost? It doesn't seem to have a price on here. But sir, you don't need to order that. That's already included for free for new and returning players on PC and consoles who haven't played in the last 6 months. Wow, really? Yeah, lucky you ordered quickly, because that's only available for a limited time.
Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Download it now using the links in the description below or in the pinned comment. Let's have a little history lesson real quick. Microsoft's first ARM-powered Surface device was the first generation Surface, the Surface RT, which was released in 2012 and was a commercial failure, mostly due to the lack of x86 app support. There's not much that you could run on this thing, but the blueprint was there. It was thinner, didn't have a fan, and had a much better battery life than the first generation Surface Pro that ran an Intel chip. Microsoft tried again with the Surface Pro X in 2019. It was powered by the Microsoft SQ1 processor and it was incredibly underpowered. Just look at how it compared to the Apple M1 processor released just under a year later. While it didn't launch with x86 app support, Windows on ARM was eventually updated to support it after Apple's M1 MacBooks released. Of course, emulating x86 apps on the SQ1 and even the SQ2 was a miserable experience, but I am pleased to announce that the 12-inch Surface Pro has none of these issues. The processor is fast, the battery life is very decent, all crammed into a tiny thin and light tablet. This is honestly the first Surface device that actually feels like a tablet, more like an iPad in comparison to other Surface Pro models that feel like computers forced against their will into a tablet form factor. I got mine in this beautiful purple color and it is so damn refreshing. Microsoft is one of the only companies right now who actually dare to release a computer with real colors, not just some drab shade of grey like absolutely everyone in the industry. And of course, I just had to get the color match keyboard. No, really. I had to. It's not included in the box, so you gotta pay extra for that. Taking a look at the ports, you get two USB-C ports. And that's it. Not even a headphone jack or the magnetic Surface Connect charger. Well, at least you get 2 ports, unlike what you get on an iPad Pro. Depressing times we live in. You do, however, get the trademark Surface kickstand on the back, and it's as perfect as always. However, unlike the larger 13-inch model, you cannot remove the SSD behind the kickstand, which is pretty lame. Better hope that NAND doesn't die on you. You also don't get a microSD card slot, which is honestly just really pathetic. There's a magnetic slot on the back where you can snap on a Surface Slim Pen to charge it. I honestly think this is a better solution than the iPad Pro, because you can try all you want, it will not fall off. The display is a beautiful 1440p 120Hz LCD with extremely vivid colors. While I wish it was an OLED, it still looks absolutely amazing. Just ignore the bubbles on the matte screen protector I applied. Look, plastic screen protectors are hard to apply, okay? And just above that, you get Windows Hello facial recognition. I genuinely think that it's better than Touch ID on MacBook simply because of how well it works. It's basically instant, and it sometimes still works even when you're on the other side of a room. Literally, the moment you lift up a lid, it just logs you in. Why MacBooks don't have Face ID yet is completely beyond me. They gotta put something in that big ass notch. Opening up the beautiful color match box, you'll see your shiny new Surface Pro and a USB-C cable. That's it. Not even a charger is included. They do, however, give you this sorry little pamphlet to try and explain why they didn't include one. Where is my charger? A charger is not included with this device to help support initiatives to reduce e-waste. That's a load of bullshit. And of course, since the keyboard is separate, it comes in its own box too. Let's pull it out first. Ah, really? So I take it snaps onto the bottom? Thanks for letting me know, Microsoft. Wait, rotate to detach from Surface Pro 12? I didn't actually know that. You know what? I usually would just rip it off as hard as possible. Didn't know that you just have to rotate it. Interesting. AI experiences. Shut up, Microsoft. Get out of here. Both the tablet and keyboard are larger than the 10-inch Surface Go, which is the model that this device replaces. I think this size is a little bit better because the keyboard is much more usable compared to how it was on the Surface Go, but I do miss just how adorable the Surface Go was. It's so tiny! The downsides of this device, however, start to become apparent the moment you turn it on, as you are greeted with the Windows setup screen. Usually, you are forced to sign in with a Microsoft account, but since this is just a Windows device, you can do a little typey in command prompt and boom, local account. I then consulted the dark arts to switch my Windows 11 install from home to enterprise. Used Winget to install Firefox to bypass ever having to open Microsoft Edge, and before I knew it, my little purple Surface tablet was ready to use. Things weren't all fine and dandy, however, because this tablet, for whatever reason, has significant issues connecting to my local Wi-Fi. Sure, it does connect, but the Wi-Fi is incredibly slow on here. I have no idea why. I have tried many tutorials and fixes online and nothing seems to work, so I'm unsure if my unit is defective or if these things have issues with their antennas. The thing I like most about this little Windows tablet is just how versatile it is. It can be a regular laptop, a tablet, and a drawing device all in one. Several other devices like the iPad can do this too, but having the option to run real desktop software and actually take advantage of the hardware is a huge bonus. However, I feel like the laptop side of things are a little bit compromised with just how top heavy the device is, and the fact that it always needs a kickstand can make it awkward in some situations. But this has been an issue with literally every single Surface ever made. Except for the Surface laptops, because they're laptops, you get what I mean. While I definitely think the Surface Pro outclasses the iPad in desktop applications and certain use cases, I still think the iPad beats the Surface Pro in terms of casual tablet usage. But that's not to say you can't use the Surface Pro as a casual little tablet, because you totally can, and the experience is actually pretty decent. It's just that the iPad or other Android devices have much more optimized user interfaces for tablet usage, but they completely fall apart whenever you want to get real work done on it compared to a Surface running Windows. This means that, for example, instead of downloading an app to watch YouTube, you just simply go to the website. And to be completely honest, I really don't miss the native YouTube tablet app because I think it kinda sucks. The web version is actually very touch friendly and you can have all the extensions you want such as ad block, return YouTube dislike, and sponsor block. You can do this on an iPad as well, and honestly I'd kinda recommend it over the actual app. Some other apps are usable as web apps on here as well, such as Instagram, and there do exist some other native mobile apps which can be installed through the Microsoft Store. Again, this is a PC first device, but I still think it works well for casual tablet usage. And the rounded edges of the Surface Pro feel extremely comfortable in the hand along with the taller 3:2 aspect ratio. Alright, enough about the hardware, let's test out some software on this thing. One of the first applications I tried to install was Photoshop because I wanted to try out the Slim Pen and see how it runs on ARM. However, I couldn't sail the seas enough to find a legally dubious copy of Photoshop for ARM. I tried installing the x86 version and that straight up doesn't work. But screw Photoshop, we don't need Adobe when we have Affinity, which is free. After installing the ARM version of Affinity, everything was up and running perfectly. Then I went to actually draw something with a pen and there was a massive delay with each stroke. Weird. How slow can it go? This is like 90s levels of speed here. Oh no! Luckily, I ended up finding a fix. In the settings, if I change the tablet input method to Windows Ink, the delay goes away, and now it's silky smooth. Oh, look at that. It's perfect now. Some people may not like how the Slim Pen feels with its flatter Carpenter pencil design when compared to older Surface Pen models or the Apple Pencil. But to be honest, I quite like it. The built-in haptic motor when drawing is there. Even on the highest setting, it's honestly a little too weak for my liking, but I still like how it feels and it kinda adds to the sensation of drawing with a real pencil. But I know for a fact that the haptics can be stronger because when you hover over the close button on a window, you get a very strong vibration. In general, Affinity is absolutely solid and runs well on here. You can import Photoshop files and just start working on them with pretty much everything still intact. I created the thumbnail for one of my channel member videos on here, which you should totally join by the way, starts at only $1 a month. I just simply imported the .psd file and immediately I could edit everything without anything breaking. Except for artboards, those never work properly in any software other than Photoshop. You know what other piece of software is industry leading, completely free, and just added support for Affinity files? That's right, DaVinci Resolve! I wanted to really put this thing through its paces, so I edited an entire video with DaVinci Resolve on the Surface Pro 12-inch. Luckily, there is an ARM native version of Resolve, so we can get the full performance out of this thing and see how it competes with my desktop PC. Specs are on the screen now. I edited my members only roasting setups video on this thing, which is primarily a 1440p OBS recording. I've found for whatever reason that OBS footage doesn't seem to play nicely with DaVinci. Even on my desktop, it is incredibly laggy, and trying to pause on time is borderline impossible. Trying out my usual 4K 60fps phone footage, it had much better performance. Still had a few stutters here and there, but it was much better. Here's a little context of how I'm recording the YouTube members video. So here I have the Surface Pro 12-inch with the webcam and everything up on here. I have it plugged into a portable monitor so I can monitor OBS, it's acting as my second screen. I have it all plugged into this USB-C hub, only 3 plugs are required, one to charge the computer, which is this guy, one to plug in the microphone, and the other for the external display, and that's it. Everything here uses USB-C, it's amazing. If I had a third USB-C port, it'd all just go into the machine, but we don't have that. There I am monitoring myself and filming what I'm doing right now, and yeah, this seems to be a really good little solution to be able to zoom into people's setups and see what this looks like. By the way, if you want to see the video that I'm about to film here, become a channel member, and you can watch me roast your setups. Click the join button down below, and yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm gonna edit an entire video on here. In this current session, I'm gonna spend about the next 30 to 40 minutes editing this video, and we're starting off with 41% battery. Let's see how long that lasts. No, I'm not gonna charge it. Let's see how long it lasts on 40% battery. So one thing that I noticed real quick as I'm editing this is if I go to a new clip and I press spacebar, it sometimes takes a little bit to catch up. Yeah, there we go. So it takes like about a second to start playing. It sometimes does this, it doesn't always do it.
And also,
Yeah.
in case you are...
So there's sometimes a little bit of a delay, but honestly, I think OBS does this as well, even on my desktop, so yeah. Can I just say as well, editing on this thing is not the best experience in the world. The screen is absolutely tiny. Look at this itty bitty little viewport you get to see what you're doing. I'm gonna turn down UI display scale to 100 and see what happens. Now let's open up DaVinci. UI should be a lot smaller now. Yeah, wow, that is tiny. Okay, look, this UI is almost too small putting it down to 100, but I think I'm going to be using a mouse with this anyway. I don't want it to be optimized for touch. I think I might actually prefer it all being this small. Again, this isn't how it is by default. This is how I'm going to be using it. I get a lot more screen real estate and I'm able to see so much more. Maybe even more than my 1440p monitors can handle.
A fairly solid... in the power of the touch.
Yeah, you can hear all the audio crunching, and after about 30 minutes we have lost about 10% battery. Not bad, especially for a Windows computer. And how hot is the machine getting? A little bit warm, but not anything horrific. Like, it is what I'd describe as hot, but honestly, it's cooler than it was recording this video. There's no fan in here, and this is a tiny little tablet. So the fact that it's playing everything back this well, the battery's lasting as long as it does, it's kinda doing its job. Also, if I were to take the figures that I've just got and multiplied it across a 100% battery, I could probably get around 5 hours of straight video editing. 5 hours probably isn't the best for video editing, but also it's 5 hours of video editing on a tiny little Windows tablet. So I think that in itself is pretty damn impressive. Although I do want to see how a MacBook with the M series chips or a Intel Core Ultra processor compares. But I'm just glad that we live in an era of PCs now where we can actually have good battery life doing stuff now. Is actually pretty damn good. Okay, we're going to be doing a little bit more editing and we are starting at around 7:30 PM at 50%. Let's see how long this lasts. Immediately, things have gone south when I tried to save. I think DaVinci Resolve has just crashed. I've been trying a little experiment where I try and edit a video like a tablet, using the pen instead of using a keyboard and mouse. So far it's been going a little bit rough, because DaVinci Resolve is really not designed for this. That controller looks very third-party. That looks like a Smaznug phone, I guess. Yeah, it's not very consistent with stopping. What if I try my finger? That keyboard looks hella cheap, and I bet you it's got those really loud, clicky blue switches that everyone hates the sound of. Yeah, there we go. See, that's not really working. I gotta use that. Go to a large... Not being able to stop immediately is genuinely quite infuriating and is making editing on this insanely hard. Like, it'd be so relaxing to be able to just lay down and edit an entire video on your lap like this, but I have a feeling an iPad might actually be better in that use case. After an hour of straight editing, we have lost 30% of battery. That's not fantastic, but it's also not too bad considering, you know, it's a tiny ass tablet running Windows on ARM. Oh yeah, look at that. The CPU's sitting at a good 67 degrees. Haha, hilarious. Because this is a thin device, it is absolutely burning me to the touch here. Now, some of you DaVinci users out there are probably screaming, "Generate optimized media!" And for 2 clips, it took up 300 gigabytes of storage and completely filled the SSD on my Surface Pro. The performance was much better, of course, but it completely ate up all my storage. What the hell, man? When it came time to finally render the video, on the Surface Pro, it took around 25 minutes to finish rendering this 33-minute 1080p video. For context, on my desktop PC, it only took 6 minutes. The power of dedicated GPUs, I guess. Honestly, for traveling, this device isn't too bad to edit on, but it's not really optimal for it. But at least it is possible, which cannot be said about previous models. The improvements in performance is absolutely staggering, especially compared to what this device replaced. But what about gaming on the Surface Pro 12-inch? Minecraft runs great on this thing. It has a native ARM version which keeps the performance buttery smooth. But that's kind of boring. Let's try something more challenging. Half-Life 2 doesn't run natively on ARM, at least on Windows. Running under the x86 translation layer, it performs performs extremely well. It's fast and has absolutely no slowdown or issues at all. Yeah, sure, Half-Life 2 runs on just about anything, but this shows just how well the x86 compatibility layer can work for certain apps and games. Next, I tried out BeamNG Drive, another x86 title. On the low graphics preset, I was only getting around 14 frames per second, which is quite disappointing. Even my Steam Deck runs this game better. Switching to Vulkan, the frame rate sits around 20 frames per second and overall feels a little bit smoother. I did notice some visual artifacts while playing on the cliff map, which is kinda strange. Not sure if that has to do with the x86 translation layer or the Vulkan renderer, probably a mix of both, who knows. Speaking of the cliff map, performance was much better on there, giving us a playable frame rate around 40 frames per second. This thing honestly really isn't designed for gaming, but the fact it can game is pretty cool. Emulators and basic tablet games would go very hard on this device. The Surface would be too thermally constrained to play high-end games anyway. Even fanless Apple Silicon devices like the MacBook Air can thermally throttle while trying to play high-end games. Feeling just how hot this tiny tablet gets while trying to do it, I imagine it would be even worse on here. Okay. This tablet is cool and all, but it doesn't mean anything if the price is completely unaffordable for most people. Let's talk about the price. Do you like this purple color or the muted green that they also sell this in? Well, guess what? You have to get the 512GB model to even get colors in the first place. If you get a 256GB model, it only comes in silver. And if that wasn't bad enough, this tablet, while I was making this video, had a price increase. This thing was already too expensive before and now it's completely unreasonable. Also, just remember that the MacBook Neo exists and the massive price difference between the two. And yeah, the value proposition falls completely flat. Oh, sorry, that's the price without the keyboard. Hold on, let me add that too. Yeah. Why are these things still sold without keyboards? I mean, it's still kinda reasonable compared to an iPad Pro, I guess. As for me, I got this guy on Boxing Day 2025. This was at the very start of the RAM crisis, and it was on sale for a decent price. If these Surface products were priced cheaper, I could happily recommend them, but to be completely honest, there is absolutely no way I could recommend this thing to anyone at this price. I really hope once the RAM shortage eases up and the MacBook Neo continues to dominate sales, it makes companies like Microsoft wake the hell up and price their stuff cheaper. I know that they can do it because I've seen how low the prices went on these things during the Boxing Day sales. At the end of the day, I know that people will write off this tablet for being too expensive or for running microslop software, but I think it's always good to see what's going on with these sorts of devices, because this thing is so close to greatness, but just doesn't quite make the landing in terms of value. But if you ignore the price, this thing is one of the most solid Windows devices I have ever used. I have really been enjoying this capable purple tablet. My name is Frogford. You can say that however you want, I really don't care. New videos whenever I like. Consider becoming a channel member like all these people on the screen have. You get some bonus videos, early access to my upcoming videos, custom Discord server roles, and your very own Minecraft server, all rolled into one. Starts at $1 a month. And that's about it. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.